Stand by to board survivors.
Next man, let's go. Next man, next man.
We got 3 survivors, one's a woman.
Try not to fraternize with the men. Some of them get a little strange.
Strange as in superstitious.
As in strange.
Best looking bad luck I ever saw.
In the midst of war,
And the hole, boys. Sound good? Yes, sir.
the crew of a U.S. submarine
Hey, you're oversteering. Just getting some resistance, sir.
is about to cross the line.
Accidents happen, right?
Jeremy, what did you think of Below?
Well, it was a fairly decent show. They got the history right, I can say that much about it. One of the things that I really enjoyed was that they not only got a lot of naval jargon in there, specifically submarine jargon, but they actually seemed to make an attempt to recreate the accent that you hear on television, or I shouldn't say television, radio, that you would have heard in America in the 1940s. The sort of voice that sounds like this.
Everyone's a bit of a newscaster, see?
Yes, that's right. And so the characters are talking like this in the movie, and it's a little bit jarring when you hear it at first. But you get
Everybody
used to
does it.
Yeah. Except for the English characters.
Fair enough.
Right. What can you say about this show? It seemed like it had a lot of promise. But in the end, for me, specifically, it didn't quite deliver on the goods. The computer animation was a little bit cheesy in spots. It just didn't look real enough, and then the ending left me very cold, without giving away anything about the ending.
We might have to discuss it at some point, but for now, we'll table it.
Okay, well, I'll just paint it in broad brushstrokes here. This is a haunted submarine movie, and it looks as though the ghosts are building up to some really, really sort of scary climax. And by the time we get to the end, one of the characters solves all the problems with a gun, and the ghosts don't show up in the final scenes at all. It left me a little bit cold, honestly.
Okay. All right. Well, here's my thing with Below. I quite enjoyed Below. I think the production values were quite strong. I guess some of the CG is off. This was 2002. This is a good 10 years and change ago. So I think that it was pretty on par for what you would see in 2002 for the most part. Was it specifically like the underwater imagery that was bothering you, or just the ghosty stuff?
The ghosty stuff. When we saw ghostly faces and things like that, it didn't convince me.
You just saw cartoon.
Yeah.
Well, what I dug is that they spent a lot of time on the submarine in the world with the guys, with everything being real. And I couldn't give you exact minute count of the movie before something genuinely inexplicable takes place. I think it involves the record player being turned on at an inopportune time.
Yes, that's one of the wonderful things about this movie, actually, is it is a brave attempt to mash the submarine genre with the ghost genre of movie.
Yeah.
And there's a great scene where, because you got to have a depth charging scene if you're in a submarine movie.
Everyone will have that, where everyone's huddled together, looking up like they could see what was going on out there.
Yeah, all the power's off, the engines are off, and
Everyone's being quiet.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, Benny Goodman starts blaring on a gramophone in the submarine really, really, really loud. And then they rush to turn it off, but...
Who did it? Why would they do it? What is going on?
Yeah, and then the depth charges start falling.
Yeah. And I liked that. I like, of course, they assume somebody on board did it, and there's some pretty bad repercussions that happen there, but we know, because we know we're watching a movie, that there's more going on, that there's some supernatural elements. But really, the supernatural stuff kind of takes a back seat in this movie, and I didn't mind that so much. The stuff that bothered me more was Olivia Williams, who plays a British medical officer.
Who I've had a crush on for years.
She's really, she's a good actress, strong performance, but this whole Nancy Drew stuff that she does on board the ship, where she's sneaking into the captain's quarters and reading logbooks and solving the mystery, I didn't buy.
Yeah.
I bought all the guys on the submarine and how blown away they were to even be in the presence of a woman, and they see her as something of bad luck, but they're also very fascinated by her. I got all of that stuff. I didn't believe her character as much. It was like they needed to have a strong female character, even if there wasn't place for one historically. Like, there wasn't any strong female characters on board submarines in World War II. I'm sorry. That's just the case.
I seem to recall she announces that she believes the submarine is haunted at a time period which
no one should believe that. Yet.
Yeah, I don't think they would have believed it at that point when she says that. She says
there's something else going on here, but yeah, we all know what she's implying. Yeah. I don't know, like, I found her character much more problematic. I didn't mind, and usually I would, frankly, that the, you know, supernatural stuff or the monster stuff or whatever took a back seat, because usually when I watch these types of movies, that's what I'm in for. But, I got enough into the characters in the world that, it didn't bother me that much.
It took a while for me, and I think that might be a fault of the screenplay, that early on, pretty much all the characters, except for the solid submarine crew, all of them have mysterious backstories, and we're not really sure what they're up to. Mm-hmm. And it's a little bit difficult to get close to people that we're not really sure what they're up to. So I wasn't sure who to root for. I wasn't sure who to identify with. Finally, it ends up being Olivia Williams for the most part.
Well, and I think that's pretty obvious. Like, when she's there, that she's going to be our protagonist. I felt pretty safe whenever she was around, which I didn't feel particularly safe for any of the other characters.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's some broad strokes with some of the characters, like Weird Wally that Zach Galifianakis plays, for whatever reason, is allowed to have this ridiculous Klondike beard, so you can tell him apart from the rest of the guys in the ship, presumably.
Once again, yet another example of a comic actor in a dramatic role that I enjoyed.
Yeah, no, I thought he was fine in it. And in 2002, nobody was really caring about Zach Galifianakis. So
that's true. He wasn't really around then. He sure looked younger, didn't he?
But yeah, he was fine, and for the most part, I liked the world here, and I liked the way the camera zoomed through the submarine in such a fashion that it was faster than the men could move in the submarine at times, and I really felt a good, strong sense of place. Mm-hmm. So if you look at it, like you said, as a haunted house in a submarine, it's the Haunting of Hill House if Hill House was a submarine. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's conventions of the submarine movie, and they use them. And there's conventions of the haunted house movie, and they use them. And I think largely it works well.
But they also have new ideas, too. I don't believe I've seen in any submarine movie, and maybe that's just me, I haven't seen
Das Boot.
Well, it didn't happen in Das Boot, where the hydrogen level in the air supply started getting a little bit too high. Without spoiling anything,
yeah,
it causes some problems.
Bad things will happen when that is the case. Yeah, and again, I believe the crew. I believe the jeopardy, and I was rooting for them.
Yeah. One last thing I'd really like to say about this movie, which I have to thank it for, in this age of decadence and decay, where manliness in men are derided, and
yes,
men are feeling more put upon than ever, maybe for good reasons or maybe not. This movie has written a page in the annals of manliness, and I'll just list it off for you here. Larry, if you can command a submarine crew after your commanding officer has run off to do his own thing and is absent, if the boat is being rocked by explosions, there's water pouring in, if the crew is jittery because they think the sub might be haunted, if you can keep a level head and do all these things while you're completely naked, then, my son, then you will be a man.
So all I have to do to prove my manliness to you is to captain a submarine while in the nude.
A haunted submarine.
A haunted submarine, not just any submarine. We're talking about man.
Exactly. Get on that, would you?
One thing I would like to mention that's also interesting, and that is very interesting.
Yes.
The script is co-written by Darren Aronofsky, and I guess originally the movie was going to be directed by Darren Aronofsky, but he instead decided to do a different horror movie called Requiem for a Dream. Now, I want you to close your eyes and imagine what this movie would have looked like had it been directed by Darren Aronofsky. I don't know that it would have been better necessarily, but it would be interesting to see. He'll have twice the amount of cuts in his movies that you'll see in any other movie. So I think a lot of those really cool panning shots through the submarine, and I don't know.
I would love to see it.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of Requiem for a Dream, but Below has a solid foundation of a script to work with. Mm-hmm. And I think he could have done something very interesting with it.
Yeah.
Too bad we can't live in some simultaneous realities
Yeah.
at the same time.
Maybe he'll remake it someday.
Yeah.
Now, I think that just to do the movie justice and just so we can understand where each other come from, we should talk about the third act. But before we do that, we're just going to say, if you haven't seen Below, we're going to totally blow the whole ending for you.
If you want to do that, then go right ahead. I'm happy having said what needs to be said about it.
All right. Well, if you want me to go in the broad strokes, what I would say is, as you said, that it is all solved by one person with a gun, and we don't see the spirits. I think that the spirits got what they wanted, and I think that the person who solves it with the gun, I thought that was good enough in that the movie had gone out of our way to make us both like and hate this character, and that act, however ridiculous, is somewhat redemptive.
I disagree.
Yeah?
Yep, it just
This is
left
why
me
I
a
feel
little
like we
bit
need
cold.
to talk about it.
Yeah, just left me feeling cold. And what can I say? I wanted the spirits to play more of a part at the ending because they were building up to something, and to have them vanish without any ado was a little bit jarring for me.
Well, I'll go, and again, we obviously disagree on the ending, but that's fine, that's allowed. But I go to The Haunting, the Robert Wise Haunting from 1962.
Yes, good movie. Love it.
Great movie. You don't see the ghost very much in that movie. It's all implied, and it's really scary as a result. At the end of it, in a similar ghost story fashion, a major character dies, the ghosts got what it's wanted, and the ghosts are still exist, but the story is finished.
Well, I had a problem with that ending too, honestly.
But I have more of a problem in the remake of The Haunting, where the same things happen, and we see a bunch of child ghosts flying around the house, and she gets this huge angelic power and uses the power of now becoming a spirit to cleanse the house in a big CGI light show. Hate it, hate it, hate it. I would much rather go subtle with a ghost story than go big.
Fair enough.
That's me.
But you don't have to go big in order to have the ghosts seen at the end and vanish, or go away or get what they want.
I
We
feel
see
like
them getting
at the
what
end
they
of the
want.
movie, we know what the ghosts wanted, we know why the ghosts were doing what they were doing, and that they're satiated. And I think that, we know what happened, we know why it happened, and we know why it's over.
Well, I think you're wrong, and I think less of you as a person too as well.
Fair enough, fair enough. Well, that was the Below. You should watch it and make up your own mind.